Ever since I can remember, we went to church every Sunday, twice. I could recite all the books of the Bible, knew all the most important verses, the best Bible stories off by heart, even did a national Bible exam every year, like a national maths Olympiad for churchgoers. And I didn't think anything unusual of it. That was the family we grew up in, and that was the norm. So I never questioned my faith, never asked the hard questions. How do you know God exists? How do you know the Bible is true? How do you know, or how can you say that Jesus is the only way to get to heaven? Why do good things happen to bad people? All these questions. I didn't ask any of those questions because I didn't have to. Mostly because I knew the answer. And the answer was Jesus. It always is. And I knew pretty much all there was to know about Jesus. And yet it turns out that is where the chink in the armor was. I knew all about Jesus. I didn't know Jesus personally. My faith was a second-hand faith. It was a hand-me-down from my parents. And as the old kind of chestnut goes, living in a Christian home doesn't make me a Christian any more than living in a garage makes me a car. There's a huge difference between knowing about Jesus and knowing Jesus personally. And I made that connection when I was 17. At that point, my second-hand faith became first-hand. It got personal. God in my life and I in God's life. And I was reminded of that truth, that the difference between knowing about Jesus and knowing Jesus is a life-changing, life-saving truth. And years later, I was starkly reminded of that at a place called Speaker's Corner in London. It's a place where you are free to express any opinion that you like, as long as it's legal. And you'll find a lot of people have strong opinions about faith and belief. And I stood there listening to a particular gentleman, an atheist, attacking a young Christian girl who was trying to defend her faith and doing a terrible job of it. So I felt I just needed to step in and save the day. Well, needless to say, I walked into that ring with my chest puffed out, ready with my arguments, and I pretty much got carried out on a stretcher. The guy I decided to argue with, or chose to argue with, knew more about the Bible than I did. Last year, I get to go back to Speaker's Corner. This time I'm with my son, he's 13, Josh. And I want to take him to Speaker's Corner to show him what these, what passionate men and women speak about, but secretly because I'm hoping to meet Yusuf, to go a second round, this time armed with all the right arguments and points and verses. As it turns out, Yusuf wasn't there, but we sat and listened to a Christian speaker hurling insults and abuse at what looked like an Islamic listener. And seconds into this, I just, the skin on my neck stood up. It was horrible. And then Joshua steps forward and goes, "Hey, Jesus would never speak to anyone like that." And this guy stops mid-sentence, Bible in hand, and he looks at my son and he goes, "How would you know? I know this Bible backwards." And Josh says to him, "I don't know the Bible as well as you do, but I know Jesus wouldn't speak to him like that." And what sounded like a childish retort was this amazing statement of truth. I know Jesus. Alpha is a bit like Speaker's Corner. You're going to hear a lot of people express a lot of opinions. Enjoy that, share your own, and enjoy getting to know more about God and about faith, but don't miss out on the opportunity to get to know God personally. You don't have to be a biblical scholar to know God. You don't even have to be good to know God. Just whisper under your breath, "Talk to me, God," and I promise you, He will.